Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Is my voice audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Parishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we did complete the eighth chapter and we had some elaborate Q&A discussions on that particular chapter, whatever we discussed in that chapter. Yesterday we had a session exclusively dedicated to discussing the questions from that particular chapter. So today I said I will not do a recap. So we will directly start with the ninth chapter. So we saw that Bharat Maharaj got attracted to the deer, and eventually, when he left his body by Krishna's arrangement, he took the body of a deer. Again, by Krishna's arrangement, as a deer, he remembered all his past life as Bharat Maharaj. You know what he did right, what mistakes he did. He remembered all of that, and he gives up his family members. The other deer family members and goes to Pulaha ashram and hears Krishna Katha from those sages there. And at some point, he gives up that deer body, again by arrangement of Krishna. So this is where we ended our eighth chapter of fifth canto. So today we are going to start with the ninth chapter. The chapter is titled as Jadabharata is protected by Kali. So we all know this story, that how that deer, which was Bharat Maharaj in the previous life, eventually became Jadabharata. And this Jadabharata is famous for his conversation with King Rahugana, which is documented in 6 chapters in the fifth canto. So chapter number 9 to chapter number 14 is Jadabharata's conversation with Rahugana. And after that, mostly we have the cosmology section and cosmology along with prayers. Okay, that is 15 to the rest of 26th chapter of 5th canto is that almost like 11, 12 chapters will be cosmology and further discussion on that. Anyways, so let us start. I think the attendance is low. Is it because of the Christmas, New Year holiday? Maybe devotees are traveling, it's vacation time. Could it be because of that? The attendance seems to be quite low actually. Could it be because of the vacation time that maybe devotees are traveling a lot? Yeah, right. That's what I thought. Yeah, maybe there are some retreat programs also because it's like a long weekend. Many might be traveling. Quite possible. Okay, so let us start today's chapter. Even I don't know if you noticed, the afternoon and evening sessions for the next few days are cancelled, starting from today. So today is Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So 3 days, there will not be any afternoon and evening sessions. I have some other commitments. So then directly from Monday onwards, we will resume all 3 sessions. So morning session will go on. Morning Japa session will go on. And after that, morning Bhagavatam will be there. That will not be cancelled. But the afternoon and the evening sessions, for the next 3 days, it will not be there, starting from today. Okay. So let us start the discussion today with a new chapter. The 9th chapter is Jadabharata is protected by Kali. Again, as it has been in the 5th canto, we will be doing these verses which are prose verses. Ata kasyachid dvijavarasya angirah Angiraha pravarasya shama dama tapaha swadhyaya adhyayana tyaga santosha titiksha prashraya vidyanusuyatma jnanananda yuktasya atma sadrisha shruta shila achara rupa audarya guna nava sodarya angaja babuvuhu mitunam cha yaviyasyam bharyayam yastu tatra pumamstam paramabhagavatam rajarishi pravaram bharatam utsrishta mriga shariram charama sharirena vipratvam gatam ahuhu. My God, long verse. So then he says, to a best of Brahmanas of the Angira line, who was endowed with mind and sense control, austerity, study of the Vedas, renunciation, satisfaction, tolerance, humility, knowledge, lack of envy, and bliss on realization of Atma, were born 9 sons. So this is the description of the father of Jadabharata, who was endowed with all these wonderful qualities. And to him, Jadabharata was born along with 8 other brothers. So, which means he begot 9 sons who were all endowed with learning, conduct, beauty, and generous qualities, which was similar to that of their father. And in his younger wife, he bore twins. Okay, so the other 9 sons were they. So Jadabharata was not one of them. Okay, so he had 2 wives. In the elder wife, he begot the 9 sons, and in his younger wife, he bore twins. They say that the great devotee Bharata, giving up the body of a deer, became the male child among the twins and lived his final life as a Brahmana. So Jadabharata's father, who was very, very well endowed, very uh, a person with very high, very good qualities. He begot 9 sons in his first wife, who were all also actually very good people. They also had very good qualities. And in his younger wives, he begot um, he begot two he begot one twins, a set of twins. And those twins, of the twins, one was actually a female and the other was a male. So the male was Bharat Maharaj, who in this life took the form of Jadabharata. So that was Jadabharata. In the 9th chapter, Bharata is born in a Brahmana family, acts like a dull person, does not desire to take instructions on Gayatri, acts as a scarecrow and gets offered to Kali. So these are the subtopics that will be discussed in this particular chapter. तत्रापि स्वजनसङ्गाच्च भृशम् उद्विजमानो भगवतः कर्मबन्ध विद्वंसन श्रवण स्मरण गुणविवरण चरणारविन्दयुगलं मनसा विददद् आत्मनः प्रतिघातम् आशङ्कमानो भगवद् अनुग्रहेण अनुस्मृत स्वपूर्वजन्मावलिर् आत्मानम् उन्मत्त जड अन्ध बधिर स्वरूपेण दर्शयामास लोकस्य. So, in that life, fearing the association of his family members, we saw a similar mode was seen in Rishabhadev also, that even though, all the uh, various types of yoga siddhis came on their own, but he consciously avoided them, not trusting his mind. So, similarly, here, Bharat Maharaj, who is Jada Bharata right now, he was fearing the association of his family members. Okay, because he knew that not even a family member, but a deer had actually distracted him. So, in this context, we were discussing. In this context, we were discussing yesterday that this is a very, very strange kind of scenario orchestrated by Yogamaya in perfected devotees that somehow they remember their previous lives. That is orchestrated. Not all of them. In this particular case, Yogamaya arranges according to Krishna's desire. She arranges that Bharat Maharaj remembers his past life. Okay. But he is not able to see that it is only because of Krishna that he is able to see the past life. Of course, he is able to see that it is because of Krishna that he is able to see the past life. But his act of getting attracted to a deer, he is not able to see, he is not able to put that blame on Krishna. That is the nature of devotees. So they will be able to see Krishna's hands while taking the blame on themselves. That is Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Kridvag vapurbir vidadan namaste jivetayo muktipade sadayabha. This is a landmark verse in a devotee's life. This is a landmark verse in devotee's life. Okay. So that they were not, they won't blame others. So the more one progresses, the more one is able to see Bunjana eva atma kritam vipakam. I have done a mistake for which I am suffering. That mentality becomes very clear. To the extent that even Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he came lamenting in front of Bhishma Dev, he was thinking that I am suffering due to my own karma. Karma means the way I utilized my past life, or this life or my past life, the way I utilize my free will, I am getting the result of that. Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. The same Bharat Maharaj, who is able to see that how by Krishna's mercy he is able to remember the past life, his attraction to the deer, he is not seeing it as su arabdha karmana, as we saw in the last chapter, that it has been specifically orchestrated by Krishna. No. So my attraction to my deer is my own mistake. It was my own mistake. And still, Krishna is very kind that he is giving me remembrance of that. So the good things is ascribed by the devotee to Krishna. The bad things, the devotee takes, oh, it was my mistake. Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Okay. The bad things is my mistake. The good thing is Krishna. So the remembrance that he gives that about the mistakes that I made in the past life, that is Krishna's mercy. That is Krishna's mercy. But my attraction to that deer was my own mistake. Even though that was also orchestrated by Krishna. So this is the nature of devotees. That is why application of this principle is very difficult. Application of this principle is very difficult. For us sadhakas, either we will take blame. It is easier to take blame for our mistakes and also not see Krishna's hands. Or push the blame on Krishna and also thank him for whatever he is orchestrating. But to do both, that yes, any problem, I must have been the cause. For any problem, I must have been the cause. My misuse of the free will must have been the cause. But for any good thing that is happening, Krishna is orchestrating. To think like this is not at all easy. That is why the complete application of this principle, Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, Hridvag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste. This is not easy. This has to be consciously practiced because every time, uh, you know, we are put in situations, it's not easy to apply this principle. Blaming is the easiest thing that comes to us. Push the blame on the other person, push the blame on Krishna. But to take responsibility, that comes so naturally to the perfected devotees, even though they don't make any mistakes. But the sadhakas who make mistakes, uh, it's easier for us to pass on the blame to others than to take responsibility for our own mistakes. And then we get caught up in that blaming, we get caught up in that blame game that Hridvag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste we forget. With our heart, with our words, and with our body to again and again express gratitude to Krishna for protecting us, we forget because we get caught up in blaming because that comes easier. So application of this principle is actually very difficult to take the blame on ourselves. So Bharat Maharaj could see the hands of Krishna in making him remember his past life. Not only, actually, here it is mentioned that the word that is used is Janmavali. It is not just Janma, Janmavalihi. Anusmrita Swapurva Janmavalihi. He could remember not just one life before as the deer, but he could remember his past many lives, how he had spent. How is it possible? Because normally, Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham, by death, one forgets everything. Sarva Hara means whatever you were attached to, whatever belonged to you, including the memories of the previous birth, everything is taken away. Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham. So that Mrityu actually takes away everything. But here in the case of Bharat Maharaj, he got remembrance of not just one previous life, but multiple previous life. Anusmrita Purva Janmavalihi. Okay. That they can naturally ascribe to Krishna, but his attraction to the deer. So a Bhava Bhakta will not analyze, thinking that, oh, I am at the stage of Bhava. So according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the explanation of the Acharyas, a person at the stage of Bhava will not get attracted to these kind of things. So this must have been Su Arabdha Karmana. It must have been a special arrangement by Krishna. Interestingly, they cannot see that. Even though they can see it in other devotees' lives. They can see it in other devotees' lives that, oh, this is specially arranged by Krishna. This is specially arranged by Krishna because this is such a great personality. But when it comes to their own life, they cannot. They say, Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. Oh, my suffering is due to my own mistakes. Oh, what about your other friend? His suffering? Oh, that is orchestrated by Krishna. Oh, Krishna orchestrates the situations in the lives of devotees. Okay. And especially my friend is a Bhava Bhakta, Prema Bhakta. So for him, definitely there is no question of his making mistakes. So that is perfectly orchestrated by Krishna. Oh, what about yourself? Oh, I am not even a devotee. I am not even a devotee. I am just a Bhakta Abhas. I am just a shadow of a devotee. So therefore, I cannot. Uh, you know, my problem is my own problem. Whatever suffering, Atma Kritam Vipakam, due to my own sinful tendencies, my own offensive tendencies, I am suffering. But still, Krishna is so kind on me that he is trying to help me. Therefore, Hridvag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste. Uh, With my heart, with my words, with my body, I will keep on offering my uh, obeisances to Krishna. Uh, uh, Jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bak. And one who lives his life in this way, uh, he becomes the rightful heir. Uh, He becomes the rightful heir to attain the lotus feet of Krishna. So this is a very mind-boggling dynamics, which as sadhakas, it's very difficult to see. This is why Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bhujai. It is very difficult to understand the actions and intentions of perfected devotees. It defies all logic of a sadhaka. He says, why can't you see? I mean, this is basic common sense logic. When it is happening to you, you are telling that it is happening due to your own mistake. When it is happening to the next person, you are telling it is Krishna's arrangement. When you are able to see the other person as a Bhava Bhakta, why can't you see yourself as a Bhava Bhakta? You seem to be more advanced, but they can't. And this comes so naturally to them. This comes so naturally to them. What they can see in others very clearly, what they can see in the Shastras very clearly, unfortunately, they cannot see it in themselves. They cannot see the Siddhanta acting on themselves. They will interpret it in a totally different way. Okay. So, and that is the proof. That is the proof. Because when you see the description of a Bhava Bhakta or a Prema Bhakta, that is how they are described by Srila Rupa Goswami and the other acharyas in their commentaries to Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam itself describes them like that. This is the symptom. This is the symptom. So when these perfected devotees are talking about themselves, uh, that may not necessarily be siddhantically correct. That may not necessarily be siddhantically correct. So, therefore, because they are acting under the influence of prema. So that is why Bhagavatam says when it comes to instructions and actions of perfected devotees, take their instructions more seriously. And their actions, you can accept those actions which are in line with those instructions. Because instructions are given to sadhakas. Instructions are given to sadhakas who may not have a natural propensity to love Krishna. Instructions are given for them. Okay. But those who have a natural propensity to love Krishna, they don't need instructions. And sometimes their actions which are triggered by that love may defy the uh, common understanding or common aspects of what is anukul for bhakti and pratikul for bhakti, as understood by ordinary sadhakas, it may be different. So, so therefore, it is mentioned that when it comes to between the actions and instructions of perfected devotees, take their instructions very seriously, and those actions which are in line with those instructions, take them very seriously, and those which are not in line with those instructions, leave it, understanding that I cannot understand the uh, intentions and actions of a prema bhakta. Vaishnavera kriya mudra vigyahana bhujai. Especially when they are talking about themselves. in most cases, do not take it very seriously, because that may not be a very uh, clear, that may not be a very clear indication of who they really are. So unless, that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it is important to understand, not just, it is important to understand Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Bhava Tattva, Rasa Tattva, all these things. Okay. When you understand that completely, then when a person speaks, one will know when to take those words seriously and when to take the, the adhikar of that person. When he says, oh, when Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that, oh, I am more fallen than a worm in the stool. Jagai and Madai are better than me. When he says like that, we will say, oh, this is mana shunyata. This is natural mana shunyata. The person is very advanced. We can say that. We can understand that. Otherwise, he'll say, oh, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, you say he is a very exalted person, and he himself says that he is more fallen than a worm in the stool. That must be true. And then the question is, if he is more fallen than a worm in the stool, then how can he be exalted simultaneously? Oh, this creates a virodhabhas. This creates a contradiction here. But that contradiction is only there in a person who does not understand, the prema tattva, bhakti tattva, rasa tattva, bhava tattva, etc. When they don't understand that, then it becomes a contradiction. Otherwise, there is no contradiction. So here, very classic case that Bharat Maharaj, Jada Bharata, he is fearing the association of his own family members because he thinks that in the previous life, I got attracted to the deer. He's not able to see a Bhava Bhakta. Here are just fallen sadhakas or struggling sadhakas who are saying, oh, it is su arabdha karmana, see, Krishna is orchestrating. We are able to see. Bharat Maharaj, who is undergoing it, he himself is not able to see. Yes, he is able to see Krishna's hands, but not in making him attracted to the deer. He says, I got attracted to the deer because of my own mistake, but Krishna is so merciful that he is making me realize my mistake. He's not saying, oh, this is Krishna's orchestration. This is the principle. That is why this is very difficult to apply this principle. But we have to practice. Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. Whereas a perfected soul, he understands that out of humility, he thinks that my suffering is due to my own misuse of free will. As sadhaka, for him it is reality also. My suffering is due to my misuse of free will. Even though some of the suffering may come directly orchestrated by Krishna, but the safe mentality of the devotee who is actually undergoing himself, who is himself undergoing that problem, he should see Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. My suffering is due to my own misuse of free will, my own offenses, my own sinful tendencies. Uh, this is very important. Because this is at least partially true for us. Some of the suffering may be Krishna may give not because of our past mistakes, but because it is specially arranged to pull us closer. And some of the suffering may be because of our own past offenses, our past commission of abominable activities, like that it may come. But how do you know whether it is given by Krishna uh, as a as a favorable punishment for our past mistakes, or if it is given by Krishna himself to pull us closer. Okay. We do not know. So the safest is to assume that I am suffering. Krishna is giving this suffering to me because I must have done some mistake. It may not necessarily be the case also, but this mentality is very good. So that way, by thanking Krishna, we also apologize to Krishna. Krishna, please. Uh, so please, what is that aparada shodhan mantra that we chant uh, during DT worship? Anyone remembers that aparada shodhan mantra? Aparada sahasrani kriyante aharnisham maya dasoham iti mam matva kshamasva madhusudana. So day and night I am committing so many mistakes, so many offenses. My dear Madhusudana, uh, please consider, just like you killed that Madhu demon, please kill my tendencies to commit mistakes and offenses, and please forgive me. Okay. So for devotees, it is better that bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. My suffering is due to my own mistakes, but Krishna is still so merciful that in giving a punishment for these mistakes, he is using the punishment also as a means to pull me closer. Thank you, Krishna, and please forgive me. Forgive me. Aparada sahasrani kriyante aharnisham maya. Hundreds and hundreds of mistakes I am doing day and night, day and night. Dasoham iti mam matva. Please consider me as your servant and please forgive me. So this is a part of this mentality of Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. Not that you take that it is my mistake, but we also apologize for that mistake and try to rectify that mistake. And then thank Krishna. But still, Krishna, I am fit to be abandoned by you. I am committing so many offenses. I am committing uh, so many abominable activities. And I am fit to be abandoned by you. But still you are helping me. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. So that is the mentality. So here he says, in that life, fearing the association of his family members. So Bharat Maharaj Jada Bharata is not able to see that a Bhava Bhakta cannot possibly get attracted to a deer and it has to be orchestrated by Krishna. Jada Bharata cannot see. And he should not be able to see because that is the nature of a Bhava Bhakta. That is the nature of a Bhava Bhakta. Shantir avyartha kalatvam viraktir manashonyata ashabandha samutkanta namagane sada ruchihi asaktis tadgunakyane pritis tadvasati stale. He says, no. How can it be? How can Krishna orchestrate? How can Krishna orchestrate that I forget him? So my forgetting Krishna must be my own mistake. But when that same Bharata, when he would see some other exalted devotee at the stage of bhava, forgetting. For example, here is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another perfect devotee. Another perfect devotee, he's seeing Swarabdha Karmana. Okay. So Swarabdha Karmana, Bharat Maharaj is telling Swarabdha, he's seeing Swarabdha Karmana as my own karma. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is seeing Arabdha Karmana. This is a special orchestration by Krishna. It looks like Prarabdha Karma, but it is not Prarabdha Karma. But Bharat Maharaj says, oh, Swarabdha karmana, it is my own prarabdha karma. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Su arabdha karmana, special orchestration by Krishna. Now, if such a thing would have happened in the life of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if such a thing would have happened, the same thing, let us say, I mean, we should not talk about perfected devotees like this. It is an offense, but not in an offensive mode. If, let's say, in the life of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if he had become attracted to a deer, let us say, very hypothetical situation. Okay, hypothetical situation. How do you think Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he would have taken that Swarabdha Karmana as? Would he have taken as Su Arabdha Karmana, auspicious Prarabdha Karma orchestrated by Krishna, or Swarabdha Karmana, my own Prarabdha Karma, my own mistake that I got attracted? How do you think Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur would have translated it if it had happened in his own life? Right? So, my own prarabdha karma, swa arabdha karmana, that's why he would have taken. This is the beauty. This is the beauty that these perfected devotees are transcendentally short-sighted. Sorry, they are transcendentally, how do you call it? Hypermetropia. Hypermetropia means, they can see something which is far away, but they cannot see something which is very close. Okay. I mean, how do you call it? In English, hypermetropia and myopia are actually, you can say, generic term. They are technical terms. Okay. But how do you call, just like you say, someone who is myopic, you call him short-sighted. Someone who is hypermetropic, you don't call him far-sighted, right? What do you call him? Far-sighted is a good term. But how do you call? Is there a generic term for this? Just like short-sighted is myopic. How do you, for someone who is hypermetropia, he can see things which are far, long-sighted. Yeah, you can say long-sighted, because far-sighted means one who is visionary, who can see far away. Okay. So he's long-sighted. So these great devotees are transcendentally long-sighted. When Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur would see that thing, such a thing happening in Bharat Maharaj's life, he will take Swarabdha Karmana as Su Arabdha Karmana. But if it would happen in his own life, he will say, oh, my mistake. The same thing Bharat Maharaj is doing here. Oh, my mistake. I got attracted to the deer. So if I got attracted to the deer, then I am capable of getting attracted to my family members. So this is why it is important to understand, bhakti tattva, prema tattva, bhava tattva, rasa tattva, so that we can understand, so that you relish the beauty, so that you don't get stuck up thinking that this is a contradiction here. So you don't get stuck up thinking that this is a contradiction here. You rather start enjoying it. Just like in classical music. Okay. In classical music, someone who is learning the basic, let's say, ragas, okay, they know this arohana, avarohana, where arohana is where you go from the lower swara to the higher swara, saregama padani, okay, and avarohana is sanidapa magarisa, okay. So where arohana, avarohana, and each raga has some swaras are there, some swaras are not there. Okay. So when you are learning proper Carnatic music or Hindustani music, so you learn these swaras, then you start learning the ragas. uh, and when you start learning the ragas, they teach you about singing the ragas in a very pure way. A particular raga like Malkons or something, it can have particular swaras and it cannot have particular swaras, and the swaras should be in the particular order. They talk to you about singing purely. Okay, that purity of singing. But when the same teachers, uh, when they sing, okay, when let's say when they are conducting a when they are singing in a concert or something, you will see that you know um, they will introduce a particular swara which may not be there in that particular raga. Why? To embellish it, to embellish that raga, to bring out a contrast. uh, and the connoisseurs of music, they will relish it, whereas a student will say, hey, this particular swara is not there in Malkons. In this particular raga, this particular swara is not there. Why is he singing? So, because they will not understand that teacher is no longer bound by these basic rules. The basic rules is you have to learn it properly in a pure way. Okay. So you learn the ragas in a pure way, but when you become an expert, you tweak it little bit, and the tweaking is not introducing an impurity, it is actually embellishing it, embellishing that music. Okay, so you introduce a swara which is not there in that particular, just to, and there are many such principles like swara beda and things like that, where the pure raga is not very purely sung, but it is done with a purpose to, for many things, to bring out a contrast or to embellish it in a particular way so that it is relishable. Uh, so like that, uh, you know, these are things when one becomes more and more fine tuned in their understanding and appreciation of bhakti, when they become devotionally more mature, they will not see these contradictions. Uh, They will not see these contradictions. Yeah, how is it that Bharat Maharaj is able to see it in others, but he is not able to see it in himself? We will not see it as a mistake, as a um, as a problem of transcendental long-sightedness. It is not a problem, but it is actually a beauty. This is the beauty. Okay. So here he says he's fearing the association of his family members. Huh? He always remembered the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhagavatah Charanaravinda Yugalam Manasa Vidadad, which destroy the bondage of karma by hearing about and remembering their qualities. Fearing obstructions to his progress and remembering his previous lives, by the mercy of the Lord, he assumed the appearance of a dull minded, blind, and deaf madman for the public. Somehow it looks like many people in the, uh, yeah, okay. Yeah, similar. Yeah, Sabita Mataji says the example of cooking. Yeah, in cooking, this is very similar. So when they teach you, uh, when they teach you, you'll take 1 teaspoon of this, 1 teaspoon of this. You should be very careful. But when they themselves cook, they will randomly take a pinch from here, pinch from there, and throw it around. Okay. So um, a beginner will think that, oh, here is a whimsical cook. Here is a whimsical cook. But it's not a whimsical cook. It's an expert cook. It's an expert cook. Uh, Because they know that if I have added a pinch a pinch of extra salt, how to adjust it, they know. How to adjust it, they know. Okay. If I've added little bit more of, you know, if the tikapan, if the spice has become more, how to adjust it? Add little more salt, little more, take some limbu and squeeze little bit of lemon in it. The tikapan will be adjusted, or add little bit of sugar to it. Like that. They know how to adjust. So whereas a beginner will see, oh, here is a whimsical cook, but it's not a whimsical cook; it's an expert cook. But you need to become an expert to understand that what is going on here is not an an act of whimsy, but it is an expert display of culinary expertise, cooking expertise. That's what is happening. But for that, you have to be an expert. One has to, these things come with devotional maturity. So the more one matures, they are not disturbed by the apparent contradictions, but those contradictions become the very source of joy, the very source of joy. Just like we saw the example of music. Experts in music, they will say, when that additional swara is introduced, okay, in such a beautiful way, their hairs will stand on end and in joy, in ecstasy. Why? Because they can see, because they are experts, they don't see it as an impurity. They see it as a profound way of embellishing that presentation. They can see that. Okay. Whereas a beginner says, hey, this swara is not there in this raga. How this swara has been introduced? Our teacher does not know that. He taught us that, in this particular raga, these are the swaras which are there, these are the swaras which are not there. Yeah, true. But when it is used in this particular way, it creates this musical embellishment that that one has to be more advanced to actually appreciate. Okay. So here is Jada Bharata, who is fearing the association of his family members, that he always remembered the lotus feet of the Lord, which destroys the bondage of karma, by hearing about and remembering their qualities. Fearing obstructions to his progress and remembering his previous lives, by the mercy of the Lord, he assumed the appearance of a dull-minded, blind, and deaf madman. This is, yeah, he apparently is acting very paranoid. You know, paranoid means extremely fearful. Okay, just like Rishabhadev also, like, no, 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 I may get caught up by these. What is that? I may be caught up by the mystic siddhis, so I'll be very careful. Okay. There was no need. He was a supreme personality of Godhead, and he was a perfected yogi, even if you don't wish to consider that. Because so he's showing that. Okay. To ordinary sadhakas, that it is very important. In his case, he wanted to show it to others because he was a supreme lord. In the case of Bharat Maharaj, this is the case. In the case of Bharat Maharaj, that is a natural nature of a person who is at the state of bhava or prema. Manashunyata, the natural humility. Humility is so natural. There is no faking there. And that humility makes them transcendentally long-sighted. They will be able to see all good qualities in others. They will not be able to see any good qualities in themselves, which is the exact opposite of uh, uh, a materialistic person who can see all good qualities in oneself, but no good qualities in others. Okay. So Here is Bharat Maharaj who is fearing the association of his family members and, and acting like a dull-minded, blind and deaf madman for the public so that they don't disturb him. And internally he was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his pastimes, qualities, etc. So he especially held the lotus feet of the Lord, whose remembrance and hearing destroys the bondage of karma. He showed the people that he was a madman. तस्यापिह वा आत्मजस्य विप्रः पुत्र स्नेहानुबद्धमना आसमावर्तनात् संस्कारात् यतोपदेशं विददान उपनीतस्य च पुनः शौच आचमनादीन् कर्मनियमान् अनभिप्रेतानपि समशिक्षयद् अनुशिष्टेन हि भाव्यं पितुः पुत्रेण इति. The father, whose mind was bound by fatherly affection to his son, performed his samskaras. You know, the Brahmana samskaras were done for brahmachari life up to graduation according to the scriptural rules. And thinking that a son should do these things as taught by the father, taught him the rules for cleanliness such as achaman, necessary for one who has received the sacred thread. Even though the son was unwilling to learn these things, his father taught him, no, you should learn these things, like that. So the son was not willing to perform these actions because he thought himself unqualified, since he was constantly realizing the form of the Lord. He said that he thought himself unqualified means it can refer to natural humility, or he could refer to, I am so attracted to worshipping the Supreme Lord internally that I cannot bother myself with these kind of ordinary Vedic rules. That could have been, so unqualified could mean either ways. You know, unqualified could mean out of humility, he thinks that, oh, I am unqualified. Or unqualified could mean that, oh, I am qualified for bhakti. I am qualified for bhakti. So I should be engaging in bhakti activities and not this ordinary Vedic dharma. So the son, learning from the father, should perform these acts. Sa chapi tad uha pitru sannidav eva asadricinam ivasma karoti chandamsi adhyapayishyan saha vyahritibihi sa pranavashiras tripadim savitrim graishma vasantikan masan adhiyanam api asamveta rupam grahayamasa. Bharat Maharaj performed the actions in reverse order in the presence of his father, purposefully. Desiring to teach him the Vedas, he first attempted to teach him the Gayatri mantra during the spring and summer months. But Bharata could learn the mantra only incompletely. You know, he was not learning it properly also. So Bharata, in order to make his father give up his enthusiasm for teaching him, performed all the actions in opposite order. Because he purposefully wanted his father to stop disturbing him with all these things. So he would perform achaman and cleaning with earth before passing urine and stool rather than after. So after you perform an act which will make you impure, you have to purify yourself by, you know, achaman and other such things. But he would first do achaman. And then he would perform those acts like passing stool and things like that. However, this was actually correct for Bharata. The father thought, I will teach him the Vedas starting in the Shravan month after preparation. It was correct for Bharata means because Bharat Maharaj was, or Jada Bharata in this case, was meant to engage in the acts of devotion. So he was acting like that. Evam swatanuja atmani anuraga aveshita chittaha shaucha adyayana vrata niyama guru anala shushrushanaadi aupakurvanaka karmani anabhiyuktanyapi samanushistena bhavyam iti asad agraha putram anushasya swayam tavad anadigata manoratah kalena apramattena swayam griha eva pramatta upasamhritah. Being very attached to his son, thinking that the son should be taught by the father, though his desire was useless. It was because Jadabharata had already decided that I will not, uh, uh, mm, that I don't want to do it. And because his goal was to make his father give up his enthusiasm to disturb him by teaching him all these things. But the father could not stop because of his attachment to his son. He taught his son the brahmachari activities of cleanliness, study, vows, following rules, accepting guru, sacrifice, and service. Even though Bharata was not willing, without fulfilling his desire, he died in his house by the influence of vigilant time. So he somehow wanted to teach him, but Bharata was not willing to learn, and eventually he gave up his life. The father gave up his life. So the father had more attachment for his son than for his own work, than for his own life. He instructed his son who did not respect these things. The cause of his enthusiasm to teach him was explained previously. That is again stated. So why? What was the thought? So the father thought the son should be taught by the father. Upasamhrita means he died. Ata yaviyasi dvijasati swagarbhajatam mitunam sapatnya upanyasya swayam anusamstaya patilokam agat. Thereafter, the Brahmana's younger wife, after entrusting her twin children, the boy and the girl, to the elder wife, departed to Patiloka following her husband. So the elder wife had 9 children, the younger wife had 2 children. So the younger wife, when the husband died, the younger wife decided to perform sati, sahagaman, and she entrusted the one son and one daughter, Jadabharata and his sister, to the elder wife, and she left. Another version has sapatnyam. Okay. Anusamstaya with a locative meaning means following him to death. Then what happened? Pitari uparate bhratara enam atat prabhava vidastrayam vidyayam eva paryavasita matayo na paravidyayam jadamatihi iti bhratuhu anushasana nirbandhan nyavrit santa. After the death of their father, the 9 brothers, not understanding the position of Bharata, they had very good qualities, but they did not have the capacity to understand the exalted spiritual position of Jadabharata. That they did not have the capacity to understand that. Not understanding the position of Bharata and being knowledgeable of the 3 Vedas, but not knowing the highest truth. So they knew the 3 Vedas, but they did not know the highest truth. So they gave up trying to teach Bharata, thinking that he was dull-witted. So they did not teach him because they thought that he was dull-witted. So when the father who desired to teach him died, they desired to stop teaching him because they thought, father, it is natural, but a father has that kind of intense attachment to his son, but the attachment has blinded him. So that's why he could not see that his effort, he was putting futile efforts to teach his son when, he was not qualified to understand any of these things. Okay. You have tried so many times. Can't you see it very clearly that he is unable to understand why are you bothering yourself and why are you bothering him? So in this mode, they said that we will not do it because, you know, my father's attachment did not allow him to see this, but we can see. Or Nyavrit, Nyavrit can be an aorist form. They gave up trying to teach him. They were not as determined to teach him as their father was. They tried, but they were not as determined as their father because they were not as attached as their father. He was free of bodily identification of the dualities of happiness and distress caused by the respect and disrespect. Okay. Such a prakritair dvipada pashubir unmatta jada badira muketi abhibhashyamano yada tad anurupani prabhashate karmani cha karyamanah parechaya karoti vishtito वेतनतो वा याज्ञया यदृच्छया वा उपसादितम् अल्पं बहुमृष्टं कदन्नं वाभ्यवहर्य वा अभ्यवहरति परम नेन्द्रिय प्रीति निमित्तम नित्य निवृत्त निमित्त स्वसिद्ध विशुद्ध अनुभव आनंद स्वात्मलाभ अधिगमः सुख दुःखयोः द्वंद्व निमित्तयोः असंभावित देहाभिमानः शीतोष्ण वात वर्षेषु वृष इव अनावृत अंगः पीनः संहनन अंगः स्थंडिल संवेशन अनुमर्दन अमज्जन रजसा महामणिः इव अनभिव्यक्त ब्रह्मवर्चसः कुपट आवृत कटिः उपवीतेन उरुम मशिना द्विजातिर इति ब्रह्मबंधुर इति संज्ञया अतद apayamano vichachar. Okay, so he says, when ordinary people who are like two-legged animals addressed him as mad, dull, deaf and dumb, he replied suitably. When engaged in work, he worked as others desired, either as a slave or for wages. He would eat stale food or excellent food, a little or a lot, by begging or by whatever came of its own accord, not for the satisfaction of his senses. He had realization of Krishna with visible, pure, natural bliss and had destroyed all his karmas in his previous birth. Strong as bull, he did not cover his broad, strong limbs in the cold, heat, wind, and rain. Like a great jewel, his effulgence from realization was covered by dust from not bathing or by applying oil, and from sleeping on the earth. His hips were covered with an old cloth, and his sacred thread was soiled. He wandered about and was called a fallen Brahmana by ignorant people. So ignorant people called him a fallen Brahmana. So he was sometimes engaged by force without wages. He was at all times not under the influence of karmas, which had been destroyed in his previous birth. He had gained realization of Krishna with natural, pure, visible bliss. He was free of identifying his body with happiness and distress caused by dualities of respect or disrespect. Because of this, he did not eat for the pleasure of his senses. His limbs were uncovered and very strong. He slept on the earth. He did not rub oil on his body or take bath. Thus, his effulgence arising from his realization was covered by dust. His sacred thread was also soiled. So, यदा तु परत आहारं कर्म वेतनत ईहमानः स्वभ्रातृभिर् अपि केदार कर्मणि निरूपितस् तदपि करोति किंतु न समम विषमम न्यूनम अधिकम इति वेद कण पिण्याक फलीकरण कुल्माश स्थली पूरिषादीनि अपि अमृतवद अभ्यवहरति. Wanting food from taking wages for work from others, and thus engaged by his brothers. So his brothers only engaged him in farm work. He did the work but did not recognize level or uneven soil, less or more. He did not recognize, or he did not want to do that. He ate grains of rice, oil cakes, chaff, wormy beans, means soil spoiled, and rice burnt at the bottom of the pots as if it were nectar. He ate. So when he wanted food from wages, then his brothers engaged him. They thought, if we engage others all day in work and give only food, we can engage him in the same way without getting a bad name. So they they wanted to kind of extract as much as possible from him. They engaged him in wallowing in the mud. He did not understand that by scattering the dirt, the field would become level, and that by digging it up, the field would become uneven. So he did not understand, how to how to level the ground and how to plow it. Nothing he could understand, or he did not want to understand, or he did not want to display. Pinyaka is the remainder after a machine takes oil from the sesame seed, which means, oil cake. Falikaranam is chaff. Kulmasha is bean eaten by worms. Sthali Purisha is the burnt remnants on the pots. This type of food was given by his brothers to Jadabharata. Okay. So what happens next? We will continue this discussion tomorrow. But before uh, we wind up, we have some time for some questions, discussion points, etc. So there are some questions in the chat box. We will take them first. Kshatriyas have more than one wife. Here, Brahmanas also had two wives. Is it allowed? Yeah, in the Vedic times, it was allowed. During that period where Brahmanas like Kshatriyas permitted to have more than one, I think we have discussed this. Is it possible for sadhakas to live up to Tattena Kampam verse, or is only that perfected devotees will be able to completely follow this? In the perfected devotees, it will be a natural, they will naturally be able to follow it. As a sadhaka, we have to practice it. We have to practice it. Okay, next one. To the point on taking responsibility for situations of life and not passing the blame on others or Krishna, it's very difficult to be continuously aware that the purpose of struggle is purification and not a reaction from past karma. When the situation is same after Krishna consciousness to what was before Krishna consciousness. Please share some insights on how to be conscious of the change in purpose and Krishna's hand here. I mean, this has to be, we have to consciously tell ourselves. Because as we discussed the other day, karma, understanding of the law of karma is based on Shabda Praman only for us. So it is based on Shabda Praman only. It is not Pratyaksha Praman. Okay. But because we have heard karma, 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 karma all the time, so something you hear again and again and again, it becomes like Pratyaksha Praman for us. Like we saw the example of, okay, hey, look, signal is not there. As if that signal not being there is Pratyaksha Praman for us. Okay. But because, how do you know signal is not there? You see, there is no bar in the phone. Okay. There is hardly any signal. There is only one bar. Okay. As if it is Pratyaksha Praman. You are not seeing the signals. Someone told you that if it is 4 bars, then there is very good signal. 1 bar means no signal. No bar means zero signal. Okay. But because you have done it again and again and again and again and again, so you say that as if it is Pratyaksha Praman. Okay. But for us, it is not Pratyaksha Praman. It is all Shabda Praman only. There is something called as law of karma. It is only Shabda Praman. So now that we have become devotees, the same Shabda says that Krishna takes over. That Krishna takes over. So just like when we heard there is something called as law of karma again and again and again, that became almost like Pratyaksha Praman for us. Similarly, when we hear from devotees and from Srimad Bhagavatam again and again and again and again, that Krishna takes over the life of a devotee. Okay. When we keep hearing it again and again, then that also becomes as good as Pratyaksha Praman for us. So just like by hearing about law of karma again and again, we accepted law of karma as if it is Pratyaksha Praman. Similarly, by hearing again and again about the merciful nature of Krishna, about his qualities, and about how he interacts with his devotees, uh, by that we will start accepting uh, uh, we will start accepting Krishna's hands also as Pratyaksha Praman. And practicing means what? Practicing, as we saw today, practicing to apologize to Krishna for making mistakes and practicing to thank Krishna for protection. So when we keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, gradually over a period of time, we will start seeing, we'll start seeing it, we'll start accepting it. And then it will actually become Pratyaksha Praman. It will actually become Pratyaksha Praman. We'll be able to see Krishna's hands. Also, another follow-up question. When we are put through a situation where the instrument is another living entity, it is very difficult to not pass the blame when compared to a situation where the instrument is not very visible. Like, for example, by falling sick and through some realization versus someone else who hurts. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree and empathize with this. This is my personal experience also, that when you become sick, it is easy not to pass the blame to anyone else. But when another person is involved, it becomes very difficult to not pass the blame to others. I 100% agree with this without any doubt. Okay. But still, okay. So this application is very difficult. That's why, especially to not pass the blame and take the responsibility on oneself is very, very difficult. Extremely difficult. For me, it's very difficult. I miserably fail many, many times. This is, I'm openly admitting. I'm openly admitting. I miserably fail many times. But just because I fail miserably does not mean that what is Anukul, what is Pratikul will change. This is what is Anukul for Bhakti. And this is reality also. This is reality also. One good thing is we may fall down, we may slip and fall. But Krishna says, no, I will not penalize you for that. Get up and walk. Okay. Get up and walk. Okay. So Krishna does not have this, you know, CGPA, cumulative grade point average. Okay. So he does not have any CGPA. Okay. So you, cumulative grade point average means what you scored in your first semester, what you scored in your second semester, what you scored in your third semester till eighth semester. Everything is added and divided by 8. So that is your CGPA. Okay. So Krishna does not have this cumulative grade point average. Oh, so you so you slipped and fell down? No problem. Get up and walk. Again you slipped and fell down? No problem. Get up and walk. And at the end, everyone gets a 10 CGPA. It's not like you slipped 20 times, so I will deduct so many marks from you. No. Whether you slip 20 times and reach me or 20,000 times and reach me, everyone will get a 10 CGPA. Full Krishna Prema is guaranteed. So it's okay. I am not able to apply it now. Let me get up and let me tell myself, okay, next time let me try a little more harder. Not to blame the other person, but take the blame on myself. Again, we will fall. Let me get up again. Now let me reinvigorate myself. Let me be even more determined to apply this principle. Okay. So at the end, 10 CGPA is granted. is guaranteed. So that does not mean that we keep on falling again and again, but uh, we try our best. Krishna does not have this CGPA system that I will, if you had fallen many, many times, then I will give you a less grade like that. It is not like that. Okay, there is another question. As per the commentary of Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan on Namashtaka verse 4, Prarabdha karma is destroyed only for Ekantika Bhakta. Ekantikanti भावेनोपासितं नाम भोगैक विनाश्यम अपि prarabdham vinaiva bhogad vinashyati ityaha. How do we see this? So now here there are two understandings. Okay, first is who is an ekantika bhakta? Who is an ekantika bhakta? That is one understanding. That is ekantika bhakta can mean one who is Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavratam anukulyena krishna anushilanam. One whose faith is ekantika. Okay. That is an ekantika bhakta. In that case, that ekantika bhakta can be a ekantika bhakta sadhaka also, not necessarily a siddha. Okay. So in such cases, prarabdha karma is destroyed only when one's faith is pure. Or in another case, if you take another meaning is, what is your understanding of the word prarabdha karma? So there, prarabdha can sometimes also refer to the vasanas, karma vasanas. Prarabdha karma vasanas. Okay. So if you take prarabdha karma as prarabdha karma vasanas, then their destruction is gradual. Okay. At the stage of nishta only, in Madhurya Kadambini, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, there are 4 types of anarthas, which is, anarthas which are dushkritotta anarthas, sukritotta anarthas, bhaktiotta anarthas, and aparadotta anarthas. So he explains that there are anarthas means unfavorable desires which are born out of one's past sinful life, which is dushkritotta anarthas, which are caused due to past pious life, which is sukritotta anarthas. And the third is bhaktiotta anarthas, which come in the form of puja, labh, pratishta. And aparadotta anarthas, unfavorable desires which are born out of, aparads, previous offenses. So he says at the stage of nishta, the aparadotta anarthas, except for aparadotta anarthas, all the other 3 types of anarthas become zero, almost zero. Zero, not almost zero, it becomes zero. Okay. But only the aparadotta anarthas remain. So if you take Aikantiki Bhakta to mean a person at the stage of Nishta, then this shows that at Nishta there is no other Prarabdha Karma, means Prarabdha Karma due to the way you have lived your life, which means Dushkritotta Anarthas and Sukritotta Anarthas are not there. Or if you take an Aikantiki Bhakta to mean a Prema Bhakta, then at Prema even the Aparadotta Anarthas are not there. So the word prarabdha karma can have multiple meanings. And the phrase ekantiki bhakti can have multiple meanings. So depending on how you take the meaning of the word ekantiki bhakti and prarabdha karma, you can have multiple explanations of this particular explanation that Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan gives to this verse. Okay. Another question. Also at this time for Jadabharta, there was no need for Loka Sangraha also to learn the Vedic way of life. Yeah, correct. All brothers had good qualities of their father. Then why did they behave with him like this? Not being nice to him. I think they were in general nice, but at some point what happens is if you have a mentally retarded family member, then gradually, you may be nice to him, but our level of being nice would be a little bit compromised because of that person's situation, because he would, whatever you say that he will do it in the opposite way, that gradually over days and weeks and months, it increases a sense of resentment and anger and frustration in the heart of those family members who may have to deal with him, uh, day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, like that. So, uh, so they may very unconsciously they may start treating him in a not so good way, like that. Yeah, to keep continuous enthusiasm becomes difficult sometimes. Yeah, I agree. I agree. That is why, whenever enthusiasm goes down, we take the association to pump up our enthusiasm. And then when it goes down, we again take association to pump up our enthusiasm, and like that. Hmm. Okay, there are two questions, two hands up. Let's quickly take. We have about 7 to 8 minutes left today. So if you can keep the questions short, we can quickly cover both the questions. Yes, Keshav Prem.
Harishna Prabhuji, for the past 1 week, this repeated question of whether the karma of a devotee is taken care by law of karma or by Krishna is repeatedly, we are getting this, Prabhuji. Repeatedly, you are answering also in different forms. The same question comes, Prabhuji. So I'm just trying to understand that what the problem. You said both are from Shastra only, so Shabda Praman, so we have to accept. So one problem with devotees in accepting that Krishna is giving, if it is my mistake and is suffering for that, that is at least we are able to accept, Prabhuji. But Krishna giving this not for us alone, for even for really highly elevated devotees, that is always bothering us. Though we accept that, but that bothers us. That is why repeatedly this question is coming, Prabhuji. So I just want to how to uh, make us understand this very deeply, Prabhuji.
Yeah, it is just that in a company, you see,
Mm,
uh, the the boss will
mm,
give more responsibilities to a person who is taking that responsibility.
mm,
So similarly, Krishna knows that here is a devotee who is very malleable to my desire,
oh,
and he has overcome his bodily consciousness. Okay.
mm,
So I can utilize him. I can give
mm,
him some problems where
mm,
internally he will not suffer because he is
mm,
absorbed in me. Huh?
mm,
But seeing him taking so much uh, enthusiasm to spread Krishna consciousness, despite his physical problems, other people can get potentially inspired in Krishna consciousness. So,
mm,
in so with this consideration, Krishna may put his very exalted devotees into some physical trouble
mm,
when ordinary people, if they have even 1/100th of that suffering, they cannot focus. But these are not
mm,
ordinary personalities. They are very
mm,
exalted personalities. They are not in bodily consciousness of life. They are completely absorbed in Krishna. So when they undergo this kind of physical ailment, you know, they can still think about Krishna. They can still want to spread Krishna consciousness around. And seeing that, ordinary people may get tremendously inspired to take up to Krishna consciousness. So for
mm,
such purposes, Krishna can put them through. But what we think is Atmavan Manyate Jagat. We will think that, oh, uh, this kind of suffering is so excruciating. It is so excruciating only uh, uh, if we don't have a higher absorption.
mm,
But it is not so excruciating for one who has a much higher absorption. Huh? So uh, we see this, like
mm,
a person who is unable to tolerate hunger generally. Okay. But when he is sitting in an examination hall, writing a competitive exam which would decide his future, he will not say that I am feeling hungry. I will leave the exam in between, go take my lunch and come. He will not say why. In fact, he will not even notice his hunger.
yes, Prabhuji. True.
That is because of that higher absorption. So these
Oh,
personalities have such higher absorption. So we think We don't have such higher absorption, therefore we may get disturbed even with small bodily ailments. So we project our situation on these great personalities, and we think that, oh, they must be also suffering just like me, but they may not necessarily.
Oh, this is very, very nice. Prabhuji, but this understanding of getting inspiration from such an example, this also can happen only to some mature devotees, na Prabhuji, because the other way around also can happen, na Prabhuji. Even Guru Maharaj, big people are getting this means that this process is not working. Like that also,
See,
immature neophyte
yeah,
devotees will get that understanding also, na Prabhuji.
yeah.
It has both
I
the.
mean, that what we can do. For anything
Mm,
that Krishna does, for anything anyone does, if an immature person is interpreting it, they will interpret it in the wrong way only.
mm,
So,
mm,
otherwise, I will tell you the other way around. If
mm,
great devotees do not get are not getting bodily ailments,
mm,
then immature people can also interpret it as, so
mm.
I will try to practice bhakti nicely so that I remain very healthy.
Oh,
They can do that. Is that a reasonable way of interpreting by immature people or not?
yes, Prabhuji, it can.
So,
Can.
so if
Oh,
immature interpretation is there, whether Krishna
mm,
keeps them healthy or not healthy, they can
mm.
always interpret it the other way.
Correct, Prabhuji. Correct. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. There is a connected question in the chat box. I'll just take that. But hypothetically, if there is a pure devotee who is not famous, who has no followers, and if he is going through bodily ailments, how do we see this? Well, uh, see, he is going through bodily ailments. Uh, how do we know? Maybe that is stimulating his taking shelter very strongly. यस्याहम अनुगृणामि हरिष्ये तद्दनं शनैः ततो अदनं त्यजन्त्यस्य स्वजना दुःख दुःखितम्. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, sorry, in Bhagavatam, that if I want to show some special mercy to someone, I take away their wealth, I may take away their health, so that it can stimulate them to take perfect shelter of me. So it may not necessarily be for Loka Sangraha also. It can be that they are sometimes at least a few of them, even though that devotee may not be famous, but it is at least a few of them who are observing him, may understand, my God, if this is what, and if this is what is uh, the position of an exalted devotee, you know, see how much he is physically he is suffering, but still he is focused on Krishna. When they see that, at least they will get inspired. And those people, those two or three people who may get inspired, they may become famous devotees also, and others may see. Okay, like that. Okay, so I think we should pause here. It's time. I apologize to Mother Gail for not being able to take her question, but I promise tomorrow we will definitely take your question because I wish to end on time and not take Radha Pramod Prabhu's time. So thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.